Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. This is part of Scholar's Friday Night Magic series. They are doing legacy events every Friday night. This one was for a Force of Will, and here we've got myself on Storm post-ban, so no Gataxian Probe. That's been replaced with cards like Preordained, Thoughtseize for Cabal Therapies, a few other changes. The sideboard, very much a work in progress, but I'm up against Kerman here, and we'll see what he is on. Now, he was calling me out. He looks like Death and Taxes. Death and Taxes. So he was calling me out from the winner's bracket. Took a loss, and now we are playing here. One of us hoping to go X1 and draw in to this top 8. And Ponder, back over to Kerman. Mother of Runes, standard operating procedure for Death and Taxes. You're going to want an Aether Vial or Mother of Runes on turn 1 to make good use of your mana. The deck also has Swords to Plowshares versus more aggressive decks, or certainly versus decks that ran Deathrite Shaman. But it looks like more now than ever you're going to want to have either Mother of Runes or Aether Vial. And Thoughtseize is going to show an absolute nightmare here. Thalia, Sanctum Prelate, Mirren Crusader, Spirit of the Labyrinth. All of those terrible, terrible news for me. Spirit of the Labyrinth going to shut off any additional cantripping that can happen. Ad Nauseam notably still works, as do all the tutors, but all of the blue cards in the deck are now just bricks. Preordain, at least you get to scry, but that card is not going to generate any type of card advantage. It is now just 1 blue, scry 2. Not going to be able to remove any of these threats either game 1. Going to be a lot to play through. And Sanctum Prelate, so he drew his planes off the top. Not a whole lot of luck in that draw, but it does potentially just end the game if he puts it out on 4. Not familiar with my list, so he jams it on 1. But that would have actually ended the game. I would have no way of winning with a... sorry, if he chooses the number 4 there. Both tendrils cost 4. And there's lethal damage coming in. Mirren Crusader piling on, and Storm down a game right off the bat versus Death and Taxes. Death and Taxes expected to do fairly well in the new meta. I think a lot of people are expecting Rug Delver to be the new deck to beat, or certainly a deck that becomes much more popular. Cards like Stifle and Wasteland from that in the short term would be expected to be quite strong versus people who are not quite ready to give up on their multi dual land mana bases. You know, decks like Check Pile, people will likely continue to try and make it work, as ill-advised as that is. Check Pile was a really unique deck. Leovold, a really unique card, both in how easily they were able to function because of Deathrite Shaman. And Deathrite Shaman was a black creature. That's the bottom line as far as I'm concerned. People trying to replace it with Noble Hierarch or Birds of Paradise, I believe, are missing exactly how good Deathrite Shaman was. He was on color when he was black, and he fixed your mana, and green was just a splash. So I don't know how green mana is going to fix your mana problems when you don't even want green mana in your deck. It's basically taking a 3-color deck, making it a 4-color deck, trying to fix the mana issues, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. But the metagame will sort itself out. Maybe I'm wrong, but in the short term, I got to imagine Ponder, Wasteland, mana denial strategies, decks like Death and Taxes are going to be able to perform quite well. So Chrome Mox here out of the gates for Ponder. Chrome Mox, a new main deck addition for me in Storm. I think particularly in the post-board games, the card's got a lot of strength, and a couple of Ponders firing off here. trying to sculpt, and it stays pat, and that may mean a turn 2 win here. Let's see how this goes. Ponder keeping is definitely a scary thing to see when you're playing Death and Taxes. Generally going to mean one of two things. Either the deck is absolutely stacked, or it was just more cantrips on top, and it was preferable to hit cantrips than random cards. And it looks like it's actually the latter here, so John going to have a little bit of room to breathe. Infernal Tutor in hand already. And a fetch land. An island going to prevent that Infernal Tutor from being able to be useful. Got to get all the lands out of your hand, either with Lion's Eye Diamond or just naturally playing them. And there's Thalia. This game just got a whole lot worse. Thalia, the reason to play Death and Taxes, going to make all your opponent's non-creature spells cost 1 more. That's typically very bothersome for blue decks, making all of their cantrips cost 2 mana, making them no longer an efficient way to use your mana, typically making people choose in between card selection or playing their main strategy. And Massacre clearing the board for just 1 mana. And Infernal Tutor, Crack LED. It looks like a whole lot of goblins are going to be coming down. Actually, it's only 8 goblins. Really not that many goblins. Especially versus Death and Taxes. So this is dicey. This is a dicey situation, to say the least. Kind of committing to the world of combat phases. And there we go, right off the bat, Flicker Wisp nuking one of these goblin tokens. See how many more tricks Herman has to mop up these tokens. This is a very risky line. Looks like the only line that was available. Now, notably, Massacre next week will be Dread of Night. I did lose a match earlier to Gaddock Teague. Pretty disappointed with how Massacre has been performing. It's occasionally spectacular, but I've got to at least get some Dread of Nights into the sideboard, and man, it would be fantastic now. It also would have cleared Thalia and Mother of Runes, but it would have prevented these Flicker Wisps from potentially being blockers or an actual clock. We're both sitting here with the ability to potentially deal lethal damage over the next few turns. Herman thinking through if he wants to swing or not. And he is blocking, taking 4. So a 3-turn clock. Spirit of the Labyrinth, another X1. This is a painful way to mop up goblins. All of these 1-butts are not really ideal. You know, Stoneforge Mystic would be a lot better. Of course, Thalia would be fantastic. It would both stop the goblins and prevent me from comboing off. And he is now Hellbent. And Kerman really forced to play this defensive game. And the goblin beats stop. Another Mother of Runes comes down. There's Thalia, but Caracas has joined the other side of the board here. Sideboard card I'm partial to. And Sword of Fire and Ice, and things are about to get real. That is going to give pro red. Those goblins are definitely red. And that is going to make this a very dangerous situation. I'm going to have to get rid of Thalia. and win before the Sword of Fire and Ice hits. That Karakas really hanging out there vulnerable to a wasteland. Karakas really the only thing keeping me alive right now. Revoker coming down. Luckily not able to name Karakas, but it does deny mana hitting that Chrome Mox. A 4/3 Revoker hitting, shooting down a Goblin. There's Thalia. Get her out of there with Karakas. 10-step Thalia. And Brainstorm here. Now from 9 damage, if Kerman has anything on that vial for 3, we may be just looking at lethal. So it looks like it is go time. A ton of rituals here. Flurry of rituals and a Lion's Eye Diamond. That's 3, 5, 7, 10 black mana. Plus the LED Infernal goes to 8 black. And that's going to do it. Kerman all the way down at 6 life thanks to those Goblin beats. Which means that Tendril's just going to finish that up. So game 2, that is not typically how it's done. Karakas bouncing stuff all over the place. And really illustrating just how key Dread of Night would have been. That whole game, the X1s, causing all sorts of problems. Of course, if you can get 2 Dread of Nights down, that's going to blank the entire deck. Well, barring, I guess, hard casting the Germ token. Equipment would be the only thing that really changes the dynamic as well. They have a Sword of Fire and Ice on something. So barring equipment, every creature in the deck is going to be cold to double Dread of Night. And leading out here with a Polluted Delta, Ponder off of Underground Sea. Kerman with no turn 1 play other than Karakas, indicating that perhaps he's going to have Thalia. Of course, you're going to likely have to play around or play as if he's going to have Thalia regardless, even if he doesn't have it in hand. If it comes off the top, there's not a lot on turn 2 that's better versus Storm than Thalia. Horizon Canopy into Thalia, as anticipated. Worth noting here, he does not have a basic Plains, meaning that Massacre is a 5-mana spell right now. There is a basic Plains. All right, so that's an improvement for the Storm side. Now, just gonna have to try and dig toward Massacre or some type of removal. And Brainstorm during the end step. So Aethersworn Canonist. So Brainstorm's actually in response to the Canonist, which is another significant threat. Is worth noting versus Canonist, you can spam the board with Lotus Petals, LEDs, Chrome Mox, and then play and empty the Warrens. The addition of Chrome Mox does make it theoretically possible to tendril somebody out by just playing a bunch of artifacts, but that is a very difficult thing to do. And there's Ponder for 2 mana, and that'll be the 1 non-artifact spell for turn. Death and Taxes has set a 5-turn clock here, 4 damage at a time. And paying the 1 to get the LED down. Valuing having access to that 3 mana more than the potential storm count. And Mirren Crusader with Karakas, replacing the other Karakas, so he will be able to bounce Thalia. And this is looking very grim. And there's 8 damage. Wasteland coming down. Down to 5. And it is now or never for Storm. Sarah Avenger on top of it. Only going to be able to play 1 spell. And it's Massacre. That is the spell that you want to be playing here. That is just carnage. Thalia and the Aethersworn Cannon is absolutely handled. Got Reign of Filth, allowing for double Cabal Ritual. 8 black. Dark Petition, and that should do it. That should do it. Double LED being cracked. A storm count of 5. Dark Petition's going to add 3 black after it resolves. And can actually just chain Infernals here. So storm 6, 7, and then 8. And that'll do it. So no need to go to the graveyard in case he had a card like Fairy Macabre or Surgical Extraction. Just going to be able to chain these Infernals. Even if he has a Surgical, would not be able to break the play up. And there's the Tendrils for plenty of lethal. So Storm pulling one out with Massacre at the last second. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.